If that is the case, then we probably don't need schools or teachers. What are we wanting to achieve? What is the purpose of education? The values that we integrate, they were more developed, say, at a playground. These experiences make you what you are, because teaching is about human connect, disliking that subject, right? Challenge for an educator is also there, immense challenge. Where do we draw a line? Honestly speaking, today these children also face a lot of challenge.
Thank you, Sangeeta ma'am, for joining on the podcast. So, Sangeeta ma'am is the principal of Manav Rachna International School, Gurgaon, Sector 46. And we're going to talk about a lot of interesting things related to education and learning. This summit, we've been talking about education. A lot of principles have come. And you mentioned something, so I was doing my research, and something that caught my attention was that it is not limited to academic, what happens at school or inside the classroom, or maybe the numbers that we talk about. So it is much more than that. Please tell us a little bit about that.
See, for this, we need to go back on the purpose of education. Why are we even educating our children? What is the end result? What is the goal that we want to achieve? Is it only knowledge that we want them to have? Could be specific to a stream or an area. If that is the case, then we probably don't need schools or teachers. Today, it's available at a click of a finger, right? You want to learn, say, Python. I don't know whether you've been a math student or not, but if you want to learn a Pythagoras theorem, you really don't need to go in grade 7 to a school. You could do it in grade 4 if you have the, mindset or the inclination for math. And you will have some 10 videos showing you. You may have an animated video of a Pythagoras theorem or a sing-along to teach you a Pythagoras theorem. So it's very essential to understand that what are we wanting to achieve? What is the purpose of education that we want to achieve? If we are looking at developing or building humans, then what is important? What does it encompass to have a human, to be a human, sorry. To be a human, we need certain skills. We need certain values. And with that, knowledge is a sub part of it that is also required to be successful. But that cannot be the sole element of education. So, what I would say that, the skills that we develop in a child, the values that we integrate is way beyond the four walls of a classroom. So if you go back to your own school days, the leadership qualities, collaboration, grit, perseverance, problem solving skills, they were not developed through any of the subjects alone or in the class. They were more developed, say, at a playground, in a music class, at a theater, on a stage. And that's what then makes you what you are. These experiences make you what you are. So, education has to be way beyond the textbooks or the classroom. It has to have a complete, I don't feel like using the word holistic because it's an overused word, but it needs to have elements that we are able to build humans of today. That's very important. Yeah.
It's very well said, ma'am. It's quite interesting that you are talking about skills apart from things that are there in the taught in the class from the subjects, and to consider this current scenario. Like you also mentioned that a fourth grade student will have access to all the information, the internet, the technology, AI, and it's rapidly evolving. Aage, what will happen? We don't know. What will be the final version of this? We don't know. So, in this situation where we are, let's talk about thriving in this scenario where things are changing constantly for the student, for the parents, and for the teachers as well. Because there's a For the student, it is information. For parents, it is, yes, information and exposure also for the student. Teachers, it is technology and adapting to the technology. So there's challenges from all the angles. So how can one thrive in this situation?
See, thriving for a teacher, if I say for an educator rather, I would say that, when this COVID hit and there was a lot of talk about technology or AI taking over the teaching role, right? I firmly believe that this is one profession where, AI will never be able to take completely, or any technology will be able to completely take over the teacher role, because teaching is about human connect. You go back to your own school days, there'll be teachers who have, you've loved a subject, or you did even if you didn't have the skill set, but you worked very hard because that teacher connected with you. On the other hand, over the years, you may have love for a subject, but you found a teacher who was very, theoretical, if I, or transactional, if I have to say, without a connect, and you would not connect, and you will start disliking that subject, right? But what is very important is that we as teachers have to learn the technology, right? Today's students are, you know uh, they are giving they are born in this technology. They're right, they don't have to learn, they're born with this technology, it's in their blood, it's in there, but we have to learn. So challenge for an educator is also there, immense challenge. But if I mean, I've said that technology can never take over a teacher, but a teacher who does not adapt technology, or an educator, and when I say teacher, I include myself, even as a principal. If I don't adapt to technology, I don't show the willingness to learn, I will not be able to survive in the system for very long. Somebody else with that skill set will come and overtake my position. So that's very important. But coming to the challenges of the students that they face, parents face the similar issue. How much is good for the child? How much do we provide to the child? Where do we draw a line? How much? Because again, these children are born in this era and they know much more than their own parents. So, where to draw a line? But honestly speaking, today these children also face a lot of challenge, and this is I. I often hear parents quoting कि मैम आजकल के बच्चे को तो बहुत आराम है, they don't have to face the challenges that we had to go through. We would walk to the school, we would ride to the school, we didn't have AC in the school, and all sorts of things, right? But you also didn't have a life to live at Instagram. You did not have that peer pressure that the child today has to live and cope up with. The image that a social media is creating for him, which is not taken very aptly by his peers. And so that social fear, so these children also mentally, physically, yes, their lives are much more easier than what we had in our childhood, but mentally they have a lot of challenge to face, and they have to. And it's important that we support as educators, as school system, and as parents as well, that we maintain a certain kind of balance for them. See, eventually at the end, what will be left is, when you are able to build your previous question, if we are able to build a human from an education, a, a child who can define a right and a wrong, that's it. Then we have done our job. If the child is able to take his or her own decision, what is right for me at what point, and what is not right for me at this point, I think the education has done their job.
Very interesting things that you've mentioned. One question that I would like to ask you is that when you mention we're talking about the qualities or the aspects that the student needs to develop, not tangible. These are not tangible. things that we cannot see. It's completely the mindset of the student. Uh, so in that scenario, Abhi, the students are in this surrounded by this technology. Their thought patterns that becomes their behavior patterns, then temperaments and how they behave change. So there is definitely change in behaviors as well over the years. As I mean, you're the right person who would have witnessed so many batches from one to the other, right? So what do you think that the even the parents who would listen to this podcast can take note of when we're talking about the behavior patterns, the students?
See, the challenge of a parent has remained the same over the centuries, which has been the generation gap, right? You would have felt that with your parents. They would have felt with, so they're your grandparents. That never changes. That remains as it. And with, of course, earlier the generation probably was 10 years, and 15 years is come down to 5, and now somebody says that every 3 year a generation is changing. And all of that is also with the kind of rapid speed the technology is changing, what is coming in, the newness which is coming in. To parents, I would like to just say one thing, and this is a very, very, rather two things, very interesting thing that I had heard from a very eminent, educator, had once said that, in the journey of parenting, right, we often make a mistake to be a friend to a child. We often say, I am your best friend, come and confide in me everything. And we like it when the child is 11, 12, 13, and when the same child, because when you are with a friend, you don't have boundaries, right? You would want to say and in whatever way. And the same thing when a child grows up and as a friend, when he's talking, then you say that this child has no values. I mean, I've probably fallen short of my parenting. So, what is important is that you be a friendly mother or a father, but you can't be a friend. You're in this journey, your child will find many friends, many friends, but only one mother, one father. So keep that, and there is a very thin line in between. And if we are able to maintain that, if we are able to maintain, and especially in our set of cultural values that we have, right, which are very deep rooted. We often say, people saying that आजकल के बच्चे culture से बहुत दूर जा रहे हैं. It is, see, we are responsible for it. We've done that to them, right? What we give to them, they are going to be the reflection of what we have made them. So it's important. And if we are able to draw that line, and if we are able to make that, in our heads have that difference that, yes, I'm a mother, I'm a father, even the other things of technology, how much I have to give, what control I have to come, it comes naturally then. Then it comes naturally. Secondly, I often hear parents saying, there's one constant line when they say for a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, मैम ये मेरी बात बिल्कुल नहीं सुनता है, सब सारा वक्त टीवी देखता है. You will get what you take. You will never get what you don't want to take. With your child, again, as I said, if the first part is taken care of, where you draw boundaries and there are certain non-negotiables, and then the child knows that I can't control the line. The child is not listening to you because you allowed that space. If you don't allow that space, that will not.
Wow, this is actually deep from coming from a principal of a big school. So thank you for mentioning that. And uh, let's talk about your journey into education. So how did that happen? Were you always interested in getting into education? Did you ever see yourself becoming a principal of a big school?
I have to be honest, and the answer in one word would be no. So I often say I'm an accidental principal and an accidental educator. Honestly, so I do come back. I come from a family where education was just there in the system, right? My grandfather was a freedom fighter and was in Gandhiji's brigade, and my father was a topper from SRCC and a Delhi Law College pass out. My mother's done post graduation in English literature, so education was very much there. Um, I have passed out from DPS Mathura Road, and at my time there was probably just two schools in Delhi, which was one was DPS and one was Modern Barakamba. So my parents tried to give us the best of education. However, the opportunities to know what you want to do was not clear. I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I really wanted to do something because it was very clear from my parents that you need to, you know, decide for yourself and build a career, right? I was not brought up way back that, we are educating you to get married. So that was never on cards. So I really didn't know what I was doing. I had finished college and, I was awaiting my result when there was this new school which had just opened. So I don't mind mentioning the school also, which is Ryan International. So the principal then was my mother's friend. And my mother called up and said that, my daughter is awaiting her result and there are 4 months and I don't want her to sit at home. She should be doing something. She said, okay, let her come in and take care of the front office. They needed somebody for the front office. I went for the front office and one of the Montessori teachers was on leave for about 10 days. And ma'am said, why don't you go and take care of the children? I went and then ever since there has been no looking back. So I mean that just became the goal. So those uh, accidentally I happened to be in that school, and ever since, and then I didn't look back. And teaching has become a passion. I have worked with the CB. Of course, I started with CBSE, and then once I mastered CBSE, then I said what new. Then IB was new coming in into India, and then about 9 years with IB. I've also done IGCSE, and that's how the journey for an educator started with me. Right.
Incredible journey. Incredible journey. Wow. Uh, so, what is it that you really like about teaching? Because you're not somebody who is, हो गया चलो अब प्रिंसिपल बन जाते हैं. It's not like that. You've taught actively. So, what is it that you like about teaching?
So when somebody asks me, I always say that I've been more a teacher than a principal. So principal only, or the other side, or a senior leadership position almost only for about 10 years, and a teacher for 22 years. So my teacher heart beats more than a leader or a principal heart, for sure. That one thing that I think, no other profession can bring to you. I mean, we can say whatever, but that one thing that really, really keeps me going is the connect that I said earlier also. You know, at any level, if you are able to connect, whether it is early years, I've taught primary, I've taught middle, I've taught senior grades, at any grade level, it is immaterial. If you are able to connect with your child, then the student that I'm talking about, then, they would listen, or they put you at that pedestal that they will not even put their parents. That's the power of a teacher. And it's not just true for early years. I've tested any age group. But what is important is the right connect with the student. And then that's what I really like. You can get anything done from a student provided you have that connect with that child.
That's incredible. And that also talks about a lot of work from your side to build that connect and rapport with the students. A lot of work from your side as well. So, one last thing before we end the podcast. Uh, as a principal, it's been 10 years, right? So, what's the one most fun thing about being a principal? And what's the biggest challenge about being a principal?
See, biggest challenge, if I have to talk about, is that you are on your toes all the time. You have to multitask. There is never a day. So now that I'm here, I still have work going on my phone, right? So there's never a day where you don't have challenges or something new coming in, and 10 different things coming at the same time. So, you have to manage everything. You can't say, right now I'm doing this. So, and I mean, that was when I was a teacher. I was teaching math, so I was only teaching math, right? It doesn't happen in principal's life, right? And if I talk about one fun thing, probably this is the fun thing, because there's never a dull day in a principal's life. You are always at that spark, at that fire. You're always something or the other happening in your life. So if somebody likes that, so if somebody likes a very composed and calm life, then that this profession is not for them, for sure. So that's probably the fun fact of being a principal as well.
Amazing. It's been really nice talking to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing the views.
Thank you. Thank you for calling. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Confuse the words tradition and rituals. I find it a bit strange that we give our children and this generation such a little credit. So at the age of 21, I was doing what James Bond was doing when I was 9. Yeah. And suddenly people discovered that there is a new way of doing business. Yeah. Correct? Then this whole internet thing burst into our face. Mobile phones came in. Yeah. And once we accept that, we can then start seeing the overabundance of technology. And how do you curate?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Newton Classroom Podcast. Stay tuned.